Welcome to the Town of Lexington Planning Commission. This is our normal monthly meeting being held at Town Hall at 8 a.m. Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. This meeting is being broadcast live. A recording of this meeting will be aired on the town's information channel 1301 several times during the week, and it is also available on the town's website. I am Frank Berry, the Vice Chair of the Town of Lexington Planning Commission. Other Planning Commission present members are.
Good morning, Jarrett Harrelson.
Good morning, Sammy Hendricks.
Morning, Roscoe Kaufman.
Good morning, I'm Brian Amick.
Good morning, I'm Jamie Fight.
Good morning, I'm Jeannie Michaels.
Good morning, I'm Chris Brownlee. Good morning, I'm Joe Robertson.
Good morning, I'm Brooke Poole, Town Administrator.
Good morning, Brad Cunningham, Town Attorney.
Good morning, Todd Carnes, Town Council.
At this time, I'd like to ask Commissioner Jenny if she'd lead us in invocation.
Okay, let me pray. Dear God, thank you for enabling us to gather here for this meeting. May we have a meaningful discussion that will help us build each other up and glorify your name. Help us to share things that will benefit all of us and draw people to the kingdom. Help us to deal with challenges that we have as a team. It's all in your Son's name. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'll call the meeting to order. I'm not used to doing all of this. Mr. Frost leaving, we'll see how leadership goes. First order of business is deletion of any agenda items. I believe number 7 and 8 have been pulled. Is that correct?
That is correct.
The next order of business is approving of the minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Public presentations, we have none. Old business, we have none. Let's get into the new business. The election of a chairman. So, here we go.
I would nominate Jarrett.
I'll nominate Frank Berry.
Do I hear any?
I agree with that nomination.
Which one?
You can't do it. You got one chairman, so we got 2 of us. We can't both do it.
You have to second the nomination. Somebody has to
Which
second
one you
of
second?
the
I'll second Frank Berry.
All right.
Are there any other nominations?
Any other nominations? Hearing none, I guess.
All in favor?
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Do I have to raise mine? I guess now we got to do a vice chairman, right?
That's correct.
I nominate Jarrett for that.
Second. Do I hear any other nominations? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Congratulations. All right. Moving on. First item of business, rezoning of Lexington County tax map 4323 0403 and 04 located at 100 block of Old Chapin Road. John?
Jonathan and Ted Stambolitis submitted a request to rezone 5.7 acres at 109 Old Chapin Road and a 2-acre parcel along Snell Grove Road from general commercial and limited commercial to general commercial with a planned unit development overlay. The purpose of the request is to support the development of a 31-unit townhome project may include a couple of mixed-use units on 2.07 acres of the site. Properties adjacent to this project are zoned general commercial and limited commercial. The project I referenced is the next item on your agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I need to recuse myself. I'm involved with this project.
Let's address the HUD project, and then you guys can make motions on both of those. We can do one or two together if you like.
Can we do that? I'll prefer to do that.
Revival Development LLC is requesting site plan approval for a planned unit development consisting of 31 mixed-use townhomes. Primary access to the development will occur from Old Chapin Road through an easement with the commercial center. There will also be a gated access on Snell Grove Road for use by residents and service vehicles. Internal streets for the townhomes will be privately owned and maintained. The project is requesting approval as a planned unit development due to the unique nature of the proposal and to allow variances in traditional zoning requirements. The project differs from these requirements in the following ways. The mixed-use nature of the project makes it more amenable to utilization of the HUD development model. Buffers and setbacks are reduced from the traditional townhome requirements. Primary access to the project occurs through an existing commercial center, and traditional active open space amenities are not proposed, although others are. The zoning ordinance allows mixed-use developments where it is determined that the project is reasonably located. The project has a zoning district that supports the development. The road classification supports the development. The proposed uses are compatible. The proposed setbacks and buffers are compatible with surrounding areas. The amount of parking is reasonable. The height ratio is reasonable. The project encourages pedestrian access to business, and delivery times can be restricted to between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Representatives of the developers are here to answer any questions. I know we had a lengthy discussion about it last night at the work session, so y'all have any other questions or comments? Turn the floor over.
Mr. Chairman, I've got one question that we didn't ask last night, just kind of thought about it over last night. Now that we're including the existing commercial property as part of the PUD to get the units that you need, what is the thought process of upgrading the landscape, not just for the new portion, but the existing commercial property as well, so it kind of flows together?
Absolutely. Thank you, newly appointed Mr. Vice Chairman, for that question. The goal is a total property enhancement. So we're excited to supplement and add this to round out and more complete this somewhat of a block here. And our goal will be to enhance that gateway and that entrance, so we have more of what we call an entry statement coming in. So we will be, as you traverse from Old Chapin through the parking lot to the new section, we will be enhancing that with pedestrian ways and street trees and enhanced landscape and some minimal signage just for wayfinding.
Can you state your name and your company just for the record? Yeah.
Yes, my name is Todd Richardson. I am with Synchronicity. We are a multidisciplinary firm from Charleston. I'm a landscape architect and a land planner. We also provide comprehensive architectural design services. We do a lot of urban infill, quality infill projects, just like this, of this scale. And our goal really is to have vibrant, human-scaled neighborhoods for a mix of ages and incomes and backgrounds. And we're really excited to be here. Happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you.
Excuse me, so on top of the landscaping at the new section, you are going to upgrade the landscaping in the current
Yes, ma'am.
commercial, since it's all going to be one planned?
Yes, ma'am. If I may dog and pony a little bit. We're talking about really the primary entrance is going to be here. We're going to enhance this entrance along with, included in your packet is our proposed traffic improvements that we've coordinated with the town. So we're going to be not only enhancing the lanes here, we're going to be opening up the visibility gateway, and when we come back, we'll be improving this area. As long as coming through here, you can see we're adding a safe pedestrian link here, and we're gonna be bringing in new street trees and landscape.
What about the landscaping to the, I guess, east of your drawing
Here, yes,
there? Toward 378.
yes, so we're gonna be enhancing this area here. We do have a cemetery that we're working around.
What about the shopping center area up on the further?
Are you talking about?
Existing commercial that
Yes.
you're gonna include.
Yes, we'll examine that too. That's the next phase is, step one, and then step two is to make sure we have a balanced aesthetic.
And I think last night we talked about sidewalks on Snow Grove Road.
Yes, sir. We would like to do that. Sometimes, we get our hands slapped when we draw on things that aren't ours. We would love to do that. That's a proposal that we asked John in the beginning if we could provide connectivity throughout. We are willing to do that.
And also, I'd like for the record, any changes to the existing commercial property becoming part of the PUD would have to come back to this commission for approval.
That is correct. Through the PUD process with the town, minor changes are allowed, but major changes such as a change of use, future construction, those would have to come back and go through a full review cycle as well as come to you. But when the concept plan, should the concept plan be approved, that, you can't have major deviations from that. You have to come back through planning commission. And we are proposing no architectural changes to this property here. We're bringing these two together because they really hinge here, and it makes a lot of sense that we link this pedestrian component that will service this area here, as well as we've got a great pharmacy across the street. That's an important thing too to have in a walkability somewhere.
I know you mentioned last night you came back with this plan from previous months, so I'd just like to appreciate the fact that you guys looked at the vision plan and kind of really incorporated what we had put out there for the project, so.
Thank you. It's where we always start, as I termed it, this is your Christmas wish list.
Absolutely.
And we try to deliver it because we share and align with those same goals. And we plan to have a mix of housing, masters down and up. We're gonna provide, we're gonna shoot for 1 to, in some units, 3 bedrooms, but we're really looking to provide a great entry level opportunity, a great step down for those who are consolidating and de-nesting. We really want this to, we want to cast a broad net. It's always challenging when you create a product that's winnowed down to a specific market, because there are a lot of people that just have different needs in life. So that's why we're really excited to provide a lot of options.
Where's Randy? Randy, question for you. All the traffic concerns on Old Cherokee or Old Chapin Road are incorporated in this project?
Yes, the developer has proposed to widen several hundred feet of Old Chapin to a 3-lane section in preparation for a future. It would just be tapered to transition from 2 to 3. It would be built out to a full section. This would give good left turning movements at both access points to the development.
I just want to add, as Jarrett said, we've been working for several months on our comp plan and our land use plan, and this falls right into what we've been planning for. So thank y'all very much for paying attention to that. As far as traffic, movable traffic, pedestrian traffic, sidewalks, things of that nature. So this is, it's a pretty good project.
Thank you.
That being said, anybody got any other questions? Comments, concerns? Do I have a motion?
Yeah, let's go back and
Aye.
make a motion on the
Oh,
PUD
gotta run-
rezoning
run-
request, and then
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the PUD.
We're approving the PUD first, then the rezoning second. Or do we want to do it all at
it
once?
does, you just need to do it as 2 separate items.
All right. So I have a motion for approval and a second. Any discussion? Any other questions? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. All right, Jarrett, you want to do the
Sure.
second half?
I'd make a motion to the rezoning as well for the same project.
We have a motion. Second.
Second?
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank y'all very much.
Thank y'all, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Before we go any further, let me say one quick thing. We have a new face on the planning commission. On my far right. His last name is escaping me at the moment, but his first name is Joe. Joe, welcome to the planning commission.
Thank you. Happy to be here and looking forward to serving.
The longer you hear, the closer you get to the middle.
You had a timeout corner.
That ain't true, is it, Brian? That's not true.
And by the way, he is a traffic engineer, so Randy, y'all can work well together.
You have to speak up a little louder if you want to make a motion. Wait a-
All right, next item on the agenda is annexation of Lexington County Tax Map 449602-031 on Tom Corley Place. John?
Keesler Family Properties owns 9.06 acres on Tom Corley Place Road and has petitioned to annex the property. A 34-unit townhome project is being planned on the site. Properties in town near this one are zoned general commercial, and Tom Corley Place is classified as a local road. Due to the surrounding conditions and the intended use of the property, the recommended zoning for this parcel is protected residential 2. The recommended classification of Tom Corley Place is a local road.
All righty. Questions? Can we do this one the same way, John? Or do we need to go to the site plan, being that we have issues with that?
You can do it that way. We have not normally done it that way because if the development is not approved, typically the landowner doesn't follow through with the annexation, so. But you can do it that way if you want.
Annexation. Stay with annexation first.
Yeah.
All right,
I'll make a motion to
Motion.
annex the property.
I second.
so we have a first and a second. Any questions, discussions? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Next item of business is a sketch plan approval for a townhome subdivision located at Tom Corley Place. John?
Keesler Family Properties is requesting sketch plan approval for a 34-unit townhome project located on 7.6 acres on Tom Corley Place. The allowable density of residential development is determined by the classification of the street providing access to the property. Tom Corley Place is classified as a local road, which allows up to 8 units per acre for townhome projects. The proposed development has 4.4 units per acre. Properties with PR2 zoning do not have a minimum lot size as long as the homes can meet the setback and driveway requirements. This project appears to meet the setback requirements. It's unclear whether each unit can meet the driveway requirements, although the plan does include 24 overflow spaces. The reason why it's unclear is because it depends on how many bedrooms each unit will have. The town's land development ordinance requires at least 15% of the area to be dedicated open space, with at least 50% of the open space being active recreation space. Using this calculation, the project needs 1.1 acres of open space with at least 0.57 acres of active open space. The submitted plan provides 3.2 acres of open space with 0.78 acres of open space that includes a play area, dog park, and graveled fitness trail around the detention pond. As we discussed in the work session, part of that open space, the town has conceptual plans to put a road in, and so that open space calculation might be adjusted if that road is constructed. So that's a consideration. It's shown on your site plan as a location for the road to come into Tom Corley Place. Access will be attained through a single entrance from Tom Corley Place. The plan also shows a possible curb cut location for a future road that I just mentioned. The proposed road location traverses the green space. The commission should consider whether the right-of-way for this road should be dedicated and the impact the road will have on the proposed green space for the project. The project appears to meet all zoning and land development requirements, assuming the proposed active space amenities are adequate. Given the close proximity to adjacent commercial areas and the walkable nature of this project, the commission should consider if the development should include connectivity through a sidewalk on Tom Corley Place to allow safe pedestrian access to the commercial areas that are adjacent to it. And Randy, I'm sure will have some comments on the traffic improvements and or the proposed road. The developer is here also to answer any questions you may have.
I have a few questions for the developer.
Developer here?
I'm David Parr, the engineer, the power engineering. You want to talk to me or talk to him?
Well, I've got a few questions. I'm sure some other people on the commission have a few questions. When we were reviewing this in our work session, the green space, as far as being a gravel, kind of need to make that a permanent. Is that a possibility? Instead of gravel, like concrete, pavement in some kind of fashion?
Could it be crusher run, something like that, or?
Well, that would be, I would say crushed run would be gravel, but for something a little more permanent, cement, that nature. I think that would be definite better walkway material. Also, the ability to have sidewalk connectivity to 378 for the people that we're going to be selling the units to be able to get. Doesn't necessarily have to be a normal sidewalk, in my opinion. The commission may have a different opinion, directly off the road, but some connectivity to the shopping center as well, so they're not having to come out on the road to access current shopping center.
Well, we did sidewalk along Tom Corley Road, and we stopped it at the property boundary and didn't go any further.
Right.
Because of the possibility of widening Tom Corley and then having to rip out that sidewalk, I think.
Yeah, sure. I agree, but we won't, and we don't know when that's going to happen. So for the safety of the pedestrians, I'd like to be able to see some connectivity to 378. Now, it doesn't have to be, like I said, where they're going to rip it out. It could be something where you could put it on the property where it just gets the residents to the shop center, so it won't be ripped out in the future. Some kind of access on the backside or placement that you'd be able to use permanently, even after that change.
I think it could be mutually worked out with the town.
Right.
I think the town has some sort of long-range plans that show something, so you and Randy could work together as a compromisable location.
Also, I know talking with with Randy, and so what we're seeing is possibly extending the decel lane, the turn lane from the Lidl. There's just a few questions I have.
I was wondering what the driveway setbacks are planned for these. How many cars, or would they be, would there be garages, would there be driveways?
There's garages, there's 3 bedrooms, and with a garage in each unit. There's 2 parking spaces in front of the unit, and there's a parking space in the garage.
What's the depth of that driveway?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
18 feet. On one side of the road, there's a sidewalk, and the driveway is 18 feet from the back of the sidewalk to the unit, so the car won't hang over the sidewalk.
What's the width of, I don't know what the width of the roads are going in there?
25 feet, back of curb, which is 7 feet wide.
private? Owned by the HOA, not the town? I had a question for Randy on that. What possible implications would that cause on the town with it being private? Eventually, maybe residents want to turn them over at some point if they can't afford to pay for them.
If I could address that question. So, there's a few things that a developer has to do to make a private road. One of them is build them to exactly the same standard. So they're built to the same standard as a public road using the same standards. The other is set up a regime fee to maintain the roads and prove that before they can sell lots. So they have to set up an HOA that shows with the plan that shows that there's regime fees to be able to maintain the roads. And the last thing is the town is literally foreboding from taking those roads at any time in the future. So they have to acknowledge that we will not and we cannot take those roads. Council would literally have to not only want to take them, they would have to go in and change the ordinance to allow themselves to take them. So those are the steps that have been taken to try to ensure that if you want to have a private road, you can, but it's not, we'll do a shoddy job up front and then just turn it over to you later on when our neighbors get angry. So that's how it's set up.
That would be built under the supervision of Lexington County.
I'm think, or all us, is it the county? Okay, so under the engineering advice agreement?
Under the land disturbance, they would do all.
Okay, okay.
If I could add to what Mr. Corley just said, the ordinance says that private roads are allowed under the following conditions, and there's 5 conditions, but the first condition is the deed or covenants that are recorded by Lexington County Register of Deeds stipulate that the town of Lexington can never own or maintain the road. So that goes in with the plat.
Randy, how about the connectivity of the plan to the road, the proposed road the county's gonna do? I mean,
Yeah.
town's gonna do.
So let me just provide some background.
Okay.
In 2018, I believe, we completed a full engineering traffic study on the Mineral Springs Hope Ferry connection that was floated somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 years ago. Okay, we finished that, and what the study showed was that we shouldn't connect Mineral Springs and Hope Ferry Road, but rather have interconnection between the areas. And so what was identified was a location that, Carol, can you throw up their sketch plan? What was identified was a road that would basically connect between Tom Corley Place and Mineral Springs Road. All right, and so what we've asked this developer to do is to, A, consider realignment of how their private road connects, as opposed to what is currently shown on the plan, and to show that it would radius towards there's a 90-degree corner pin there on their property, which is where that road would be proposed to connect. Now, there's no current funding, okay, or anything of that nature associated with that project. However, it has been identified as a planning, and so that when things like this happen, you can reserve those for the future. So that has been discussed. It wasn't obviously on this plan, but we would like to see that dedicated right-of-way so that that road can be, that land not be consumed.
There would be a permanent easement.
Correct. So however that mechanism
Written in
is
there.
handled, but so that if or when that road is ever constructed, that has been planned for that location. It would require, I believe that Tom Corley Place would then be a continuous road and not go into the subdivision. That's again for engineers, and Joe may have something to say about that, but it's not planned for a large volume of cars, which also to provide clarification, we have 2 plans. We have the engineering plan from Mineral Springs Hope Ferry and the LTIP project we did identified Hope Ferry Road that intersection as a place that needed some improvements. It does not identify Tom Corley as needing to be widened. There's not an expectation of significant amount of trips that would cause, say, a dual left, something to that effect. So I'm not sure that that, that I would let the potential changes there change our approach to, say, sidewalk, pedestrian safety, or even the decel lane that was, when Lidl was developed, it was planned that that would get continued if trip changes were ever made at that location. So that's how that all has kind of come together.
And that widening of Middle Springs has eased that burden anyhow. That right there about the 7-Eleven, how it's widened there now, probably even make the argument even further.
Yeah, well, that's how it was evaluated. The traffic study was evaluated with that widening. So the models were all drawn with that. It's really just a matter of an interconnectivity. Say if you live in this development, but you want to go back out across Cedar, you don't have to go on 378. Because the study also showed that 378 needed to be widened, and there is no appetite for that.
And I think just to be clear, both projects were assumed. Both the work at Mineral Springs and the connectivity were assumed over time, not one or the other or anything like that. Plus the LTIP work that Randy's talking about, which are the intersection improvements at Hope Ferry. So really there's kind of three projects, all are assumed will happen over time as development happens and monies become available.
I actually feel like there'd be a lot of trips eventually coming from Mineral Springs, crossing through. People are not wanting to go up to getting that traffic on Mineral Springs. They're gonna cut through and.
I certainly recognize that and think that prior to the major improvement, but we've seen significant efficiency improvements at that intersection, so.
Any other things for Randy? I got one for David, since you're the representative. Has there been a traffic study? Is a traffic impact study required for this project based on the concerns in this intersection?
That is it, at your request, but we haven't requested one. Staff has not requested one.
As you can see, there's several concerns with the plan. We could take action on it, or my recommendation would be to withdraw the plan and work with the town to resolve these issues to bring us back a better plan. That is y'all's option.
Sounds like the issues are with the traffic around the site.
Well, you got the traffic, you got the
Connectivity.
green space, you got the future connectivity, the decel lane, all of those items that are not addressed with this project.
Green space, there's plenty of green space to allow for the road.
The gravel.
Gravel versus concrete or
The
asphalt.
gravel green space is what he's referring to.
Can that be a condition of the approval, or? We agree to that.
A lot of conditions. That's what I'm saying. Do you want us to put a lot of conditions on? Would y'all like to withdraw it, work with the town to come up with a better solution, and then bring it back to us so we don't have to put those conditions on there?
Okay, withdraw.
Bring it back to us at a later date, working with Randy and staff.
I think it's a good plan.
Yeah.
It just needs a little tweaking, okay?
Again, this, back to the project we had earlier, it fits our comp plan, but there's some tweaking.
Okay.
Thank you for
All
your
right.
time.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is annexation of 42 acres on South Lake Drive at Innovation Place. John?
What happens when you take July off? Lexington Charter School LLC is purchasing 42 acres on the corner of South Lake Drive and Innovation Place and has petitioned to annex the property. The charter school is being planned on the site. Properties in town near this one are zoned industrial, general commercial, and high-density residential. South Lake Drive is classified as an arterial road, and Innovation Place is classified as a local road. Due to the surrounding conditions and the intended use of the property, the recommended zoning for this parcel is general commercial. Recommended classification of South Lake Drive is to continue as an arterial road, and Innovation Place should be reclassified as a collector road.
All righty. We had much discussion on this last night as well. Anyone here for the?
Want to talk about the site plan too? Okay.
You want to go ahead and, can we do this one the same as we did before?
Can.
Sure.
Let's do that.
You can if the clerk can keep up. Lexington Charter LLC has submitted a site plan for a new charter school being planned on the 42 acres we discussed. The project will be built in 2 phases. The first phase will include a 950 student. It's unclear whether it's a high school or an elementary school, so maybe they can clear that up for us. Phase 2 will include a 950 student school as well as associated athletic fields. Access to the project will occur from Innovation Place and Bruner Road. As presented, the project meets all zoning requirements except for perhaps the necessary parking. It depends on which phase they build first as whether that is going to be an issue with this. If the property is annexed with the appropriate zoning classification and traffic improvement plans are finalized, there's some disagreement about what the proposed traffic improvements will be for this project and in what phase, and so hopefully the representatives of the charter school and Mr. Edwards can clear that up for you this morning. Who do you want to hear from first?
I guess we'll hear from the applicant and developer.
My name is Andrew Allen. I am a professional engineer, civil engineer, representing the project. We are the design engineer on the project, and we're responsible for design of the site plan and the engineering and things of that nature. I'm from Seaman Whiteside, a firm with offices in Mount Pleasant and Greenville, and I'm based out of the Greenville office. And I'm here to present this project and answer any questions you may have. Just to give a brief introduction, this is going to be a public tuition-free charter school. This program was developed in order to build schools at a faster rate in order to meet growing needs. And so this project has been approved by the State Board of Education and the charters. There's an entire long process to get the charter approved in order to build this, and all of that has been done with the Board of Education, things of that nature. So this will be a tuition-free school. Any student will be able to apply and attend the school. And there is not a specific zone that those students have to live in. There are not, the students adjacent to the school are not required to come to this school. It is by decision of the students only.
What grades will this be in phase 1?
Phase 1 is, the phase 1 building is a K through 10 school with 925 students projected, and then in phase 2, the buildings will split into a K through 8 school and a 9 through 12 high school with a total build out of 1,925 students. So some confusion on the site plan.
Yeah, I've got 2 site plans. One says high school, one
Yeah.
says 7 through 12. None of them said K through.
Yeah.
So it's K
So,
through 10.
What the confusion is that the building that we're building in phase 1, will be the K through 10 school, and in phase 2, that will be the high school, and the elementary school will move to the second building.
So which building is which? So since they're not labeled properly.
You should have, there should be a phase 1 version of the site plan and a full build-out version of the site plan, which is what was submitted to Lexington, so you should have 2 pages. And so in phase 1, this is the phase 1 site plan. This represents the K through 10 school in phase 1 that will become the high school in phase 2. And if you look at the phase 2 build-out plan, this school becomes the elementary school, and this school then becomes the high school. And we have done, I'm not sure if the public school process, the site plan, the internal workings of the site are regulated by the SCDOT Office of School Facilities. And so they have a lot of say in how the site lays out. And their main concern is AM and PM pickup times. And their goal is to get all of that traffic off of your public road system and onto the site. And so the DOT sets up minimum stacking lengths. The SCDOT minimum stacking lengths are 2,000 feet for the high school, 2,000 feet for the elementary school. We have gone to, and the developer has gone to a lot of effort here to try to exceed those numbers. Right now, we're at 2,600 feet for the high school and 3,200 feet for the elementary school. And as you look at the site plan, that distance is measured from the proposed roundabout towards the school. So there's an additional about 1,000 feet to 1,500 feet from the roundabout to Bruner. And another thing that you'll look at here is there's been a lot of effort that's been worked out as how drop-off and pickup will work. And ultimately, that roundabout that you'll see on the site was a decision kind of made by everybody in order to make the traffic flow very well. Because we have traffic coming in from Bruner, traffic coming in from Innovation, and we're trying to get them in a non-conflict position as quickly as possible into those stacking lanes and then out of the stacking lanes. And you'll see when somebody leaves the school, they are able to leave via Innovation or Bruner.
I had a chance to review the traffic study. Has that been fully approved through SCDOT?
It has been through about 4 revisions, and it is in its final stages. We do not have the final approval from SCDOT, but they're in agreement with what is in the traffic study.
Which phase did you review that? I mean, it was a full build-out study, so it included phase 1 and 2 for, I think, years 22 and 24.
The traffic.
The first building creates the traffic problem. Correct. So why would it be a build-out? In my mind, why would it be a build-out improvement? It should be an improvement on the front end because you're creating the problem.
Yeah, and I think there's certainly some improvements that will be needed with the phase 1 as well as the phase 2. I had a little bit of confusion in reading through it with the proposed improvements at the intersection of Bruner Road and Glassmaster Road.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the proposed improvement there?
Just to start from the beginning, the traffic study is built in 2 phases, a 2022 build-out and a 2024 build-out, which is theoretically phase 2, based on there being, 925 students in phase 1 and jumping up to 1,950. So the traffic they took existing traffic counts and then they projected growth based on anticipated growth for the Lexington area. And then they added the school traffic in phase 1, which gets you your 2022 build-out year. And then they added the total school traffic, which gets you to 2024. And so what the traffic study recommends in phase 1 is building a right turn lane from Innovation to Highway 6, which is included in the plan. And it includes restriping the Bruner-Glassmaster intersection. Currently, Glassmaster is the through and Bruner is the stop. And what the SCDOT has recommended is that intersection be restriped in order to make Bruner the through and Glassmaster the stop.
I guess I have a concern with that particular improvement. I drove through the intersection this morning. It's not in great shape. Obviously, today the stop sign is on Bruner, and the Glassmaster kind of curves around. So I'm of the opinion if you just switch the stop sign and restripe it, it may not fully solve the problem since it's not geometrically proper.
Yeah.
I'd like to see, if possible, have the Glassmaster to Bruner connection realigned, have the new, I guess, Glassmaster that tees in kind of curve and clean that up a little bit.
Yeah. And there are a good deal of right-of-way issues there. We do not own that right-of-way. The DOT is not gonna publicly condemn that right-of-way, so what those improvements would have to be based on the willingness of those property owners to give up that right-of-way. So I think what the decision was is that in phase one, we can restripe it, and based on how the traffic is flowing, that will give us enough time to talk to those landowners and determine if we can get that right-of-way.
Okay, so restripe, resign phase one with ultimately realignment for phase two.
Ultimately, the goal would be to reline in phase two, but I can't
Right.
guarantee that because, again, we don't own the right-of-way in order to do that, and we don't have the power to publicly condemn that right-of-way.
Any thoughts on connecting to railroad? So
Yeah,
you have
we,
two access points?
Yeah, the traffic study looked at that, and it predicts in the 2024 build-out scenario that we're gonna get about 5% of our traffic from that direction. And the traffic study looks at kind of the growth patterns in Lexington, the zoning, those kind of things. And so with that 5% of traffic coming from that direction and that traffic's ability to right now take Burton and get to Bruner, the developer did not think that additional cost was best spent on that connection, and that cost was best spent internal to the site, extending those stacking lengths. Because, this school is kind of like a public charter school. You're not forced to go to that, so the developer understands that if he has traffic problems on site and pickup and drop off are a mess, that people are just gonna stop coming to the school. So he's spent the dollars improving the on-site, building a very large roundabout that you'll see on site just to improve that traffic flow, to extend these stacking lengths, to do all this kind of stuff.
Once you get them in there and stacked, you gotta get them out.
Yeah.
We have that problem in
Safely,
Lexington.
We have that problem. So with that, I'm gonna ask two questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
No buses or no buses?
There will be minor buses, 4 buses anticipated for phase one. That number moves up to 8 to 10 in phase two. But it will not be a typical busing situation because students are gonna be coming from all different areas, and it just doesn't make sense to run a bus route for a minimum amount of students.
All right, and secondly, if you build, I think you said K through 12, K through 10. And I'm a 10th grader this year and I go to school, where do I go for 11th grade?
That's a good question. The anticipated phase two is
Do
anticipated.
I go back to the public school system or do I go somewhere else?
That would be kind of up to your decision, because there would not, the ideal situation is that the phase two school follows about 2 years behind.
That impacts the parking, the whole scenario, and the build-out.
Yes, absolutely.
The
And
10th graders probably driving, possibly.
yeah, in phase one, we don't anticipate driving students. There's not, the DOT has specified that no students are able to park on site in phase one. We have not allowed for student parking, as we're only gonna have K through 10th graders.
So a 10th grader who's 16 years old, they're going to have to be dropped off? They're not
Yes,
parking on
if they-
premise, and that's going to be enforced?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and again, it is a complete parental decision whether that child comes to that school, and I imagine that in phase one, that's gonna be a major concern.
So out of 925 kids, nobody's gonna be driving, it's all gonna be drop-off.
Correct, in phase one.
That would increase trips in and out, right?
Randy, can you, you come shed some light? You've done extensive traffic analysis studies and around town and our traffic improvement. Can you weigh in on this for us?
I'm not really sure exactly where to begin. And I hear what clarified as far as the on-site school stacking, that is all managed by the SEDOT, school safety group, and, but there's a couple of things for clarification that at no point in time did the town staff agree with the developer's conscious decision to scale back what we proposed as necessary recommendations for this type of traffic volume at this site. we did not get an opportunity to weigh in on the supposed DOT concurrence with restriping of Glassmaster and Bruner, because that's not a possible thing. It just physically won't work. There's a valley gutter section running through that intersection, if anybody understands what that means. The drainage is running through along the face of Bruner where it ties in. So you can't suddenly make Bruner a through road because you'll have this dip in it, which only kind of works because you're coming to a stop condition. Glassmaster is also at a reasonable frontage road design speed with a super elevation going away from Bruner Road. So to stop and realign that is not, DOT is not going to actually, when it gets to permit, that's not going to work. So I have concerns about that. And certainly when you look at the report, we currently have, I'll just throw a simple numbers at you. Currently there's supposedly 57 AM left turns there, okay, peak hour. They're proposing 326 AM left turns at that intersection. So that's, percentage-wise, quite a significant increase through what is already a misaligned intersection. I'm not sure the exact degree angle, but it's certainly not 90 now. So we have a concern with recommendation number 1, the Glassmaster Bruner Road, and the report in its final version actually does punt that, any changes, I believe, to 2024, which is also not, I certainly don't concur with that, whether DOT does or not. So what we had discussed was a complete alignment of Bruner Road with Glassmaster, and then an about 90 turn of Glassmaster in there. And it was discussed at the pre-development meeting that there were right-of-way acquisition tasks. I find it hard to believe that we've waited till now to think about having a discussion with them, because once it's down the road, it doesn't happen. As far as the 5% coming from railroad, that was a dictation. That wasn't, the traffic model did not show that. We simply got with DOT district traffic, and we come up with, based upon what they projected as their school draw, we decided this is how much would come from this area, and we all kind of agreed on those numbers. I'm not opposed to the non-connection at this point, but by the time the build-out comes, I'm not sure. They would then have a better, market as to where they were. Maybe we allow that to be our driver at that point. But we just threw 5% in there as a placeholder because it's coming from the Oak Grove, Cedar Crest area, and that's really the kind of the way you would want to get there, not come out onto I-20 or in through town to get there. So, and then we had no issues with the Ingress, Egress at South Lake. That was actually proposed by us. That the school would go back and revisit how they could get some trips out there to alleviate trips at the traffic light, both in the AM and PM. So, and the study does show that the traffic signal will still continue to work at a level service D, which is not great, but it's functional in those peak hours, both with and without the project. So there's no real concern there other than, extended delay that you wouldn't ordinarily have today. I'm not sure. So with all of that, do you have any specific questions? And then the only other concern I had, which is not shown in here, and David Meekins of the DOT pushed back a little bit, and that is the transition of Innovation Place is shown on this plan. I'm sure that as being continuous, Carol, you want to do your best, or you have this already? But it shows that Innovation, which currently comes into a cul-de-sac, okay, and has driveways in it, just being a continuous road. And so it's essentially making that, except for this one business, a private driveway all the way through. So that's just a concern we had originally. They had discussed blowing that up and making it into more of a roundabout at that location, just as a traffic calming measure. very long, straight, I mean, we're not at all opposed to the large roundabout that they've done for traffic distribution. That seems to work fine, but it's really at that location where there's currently a skewed driveway then coming out of what they've now converted to a T intersection. So in a cul-de-sac scenario, that skewed driveway works. In a T intersection, it does not work. So that's just, and it's not proposed to be a four-way stop, it's not proposed to be a, maybe a table of some type, to where you transition from public to private. It's just a continuous straight. So those are I think, the continued concerns we have from a traffic standpoint.
Randy, I think just one other comment on that specific location, that feeds directly into what's being shown as the bus loop. So whatever mini roundabout or whatever the improvement is there, we'll have to accommodate buses.
Correct.
Would they be amiable to withdrawing this and bringing it back to discuss the right-of-ways, in phase one, more in phase one? Traffic and the drive-through and all of that, maybe withdrawing it and bringing it back with those in mind.
I'd like to see phase two discussed. I think first it needs to be discussed with staff and with traffic, at the town level, a little more detail and work these things out. As far as traffic and school traffic it's just a big, topic in our community, and we want to make sure we get it right.
For just my clarity too, I mean, if we're going through different phases through the DOT, like how could that change? In other words, let's say you come to a great agreement, but yet then the DOT has to bless that, or does it go the other way? Like y'all see what I'm saying with that?
Typically, our requirements actually exceed
Okay.
DOT.
Okay.
It's not, I don't know of any example where we require this and they require something else.
Okay.
It's typically just one or the other requires something a little greater, a little fine tuning. That's why I say the T intersection scenario, the private and public, that's just a difference of opinion, but there's probably still a way, to kind of work that out where everybody kind of gets, the scenario they're looking for. The Glassmaster Bruner is a school safety, and I understand what they're driving for, which is on site. And if you look at that layout, it works beautifully. It's the off-site that then ends up at district traffic and at the town level that we have to deal with. Because we're taking those same 1,000 trips to an intersection that currently doesn't, just doesn't have that many trips.
I would agree. I think on-site, the proposal looks fine. I think it's getting the to and from.
I think with all the issues being of a traffic nature, I'm thinking approve with the condition that traffic issues be coordinated with Randy moving forward.
Do we want to offer that, or do we want to offer to withdraw, work with the town as we just previously did? Because we may miss a condition that Randy and them may find later.
Yeah.
So my recommendation,
If the general idea is we're okay with the project, with a school going on that site, we just need to work out the traffic. I think probably what would be prudent is either withdraw or deny now and let them bring it back, because this is such a high-profile project. You all need to be comfortable with the traffic plan as well, not just staff. In the meantime, the annexation process will take 2 months, so we could move forward with that so that the project continues to move forward, and during that time, we can work out our traffic issues. That's what I would suggest. You have two items. You have the annexation and you have the site plans.
John, I have a question in that regard. If we annex the property and then they aren't successful acquiring right-of-ways to make the correct road improvements, then what happens?
We typically, we always defer to the property owner on the annexation. So if the project fails to come together, as long as they pull it before town council has final reading on it, it just remains in the county.
Yeah, and just a point on process, so they would get first reading of the annexation in the September council meeting and final reading in the October council meeting. So if they were to work over the next month and be back in front of this body for your September planning commission meeting, that would be a couple of weeks before the final reading on the annexation. So they would have plenty of notice, and if that doesn't work, they can request to delay those annexation readings. That happens all the time. Pull it for a month and bump it a month. But just like the last project, if they can make those modifications and get it back to you within a month, it literally will not impact their build-out time. Because we can't formally issue anything until it's annexed and in town. I would like to add a point that doesn't have anything to do with any of the traffic issues, but just a point of clarity. This, as it's been said, this is a public school. And public schools function a little differently on how they work at the town. We have authority over planning and zoning. So we issue site plan, we authorize signage, we do all that kind of stuff that goes through planning and zoning. But when they actually build this school, it will not be our people doing the inspections. So the state engineer's office will do the inspections, they provide the building inspectors and all that, and that's just a function of how schools are built. Yes, just like if it was a state office building or a county building or, well, a state office building or whatever, they have to meet those zoning requirements regardless of their, function as a public school. They just get that. It's not that they don't get building inspections, it's just that none of that permitting process goes through us at all.
And they don't pay town taxes or impact fees, correct?
That is correct.
All right, with that said,
I make a motion to approve the annexation of the 42-acre parcel.
motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Item number 6.
Ask the applicant, would he like to withdraw item 6?
It's 7, right? 6 was annexation.
6 was annexed.
Yep, 7 is the site plan.
Site plan, yeah.
Yes, we certainly understand Randy's concerns, and we'd be more than happy to work with him over the next month and come back to the next planning commission meeting. And John, I'm not sure what the easiest way to do that is.
That's probably the best thing to do is withdraw it,
And then we
because
can-
they have to take an action on it. They either have to deny it as it's submitted or withdraw it. So if you withdraw it, then we can.
And that doesn't stop us from coming back to the next meeting?
No.
Okay. Yes, we'd like to withdraw item 7.
All right. Well, thank you, and thank you for our understanding of our traffic problem we have, and we just don't want to make it more complicated.
Absolutely.
All right. So 7 and 8 were withdrawn. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
7 and 8 withdrawn.
8 and 9.
8 and 9, I'm sorry. I'm looking at 2 different agendas.
7.
Oh.
7 and 8.
8's annexation.
Yes. So,
The Thompson Street annexation and the site plan on Thompson Street are withdrawn.
8 and 9. I apologize, it was 8 and 9.
No, it's 7.
7.
It's 7 and 8.
You're looking at the work session agenda.
Work session.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Messed me up.
Too many papers here.
We're not used to these large packages.
There's a 10.
Give us too many papers.
All right. Next item is final plat approval for Bar Lake Phase 3A, and I will be recusing myself for this and turn it over to Vice Chairman, Mr. Harrison.
Final plat approval for Bar Lake Subdivision Phase 3A. John?
Power Engineering is requesting final plat approval for Bar Lake Phase 3A. This phase consists of 52 lots on 25.9 acres. Bonded plat approval was granted for this phase in August of 2018 with the stipulation that updates be provided on the dam reconstruction and the second entrance installation when the project is ready to final. That's why we're here. Both of these have been completed, but the town continues to receive requests for information about what type of amenity area will be constructed and when to expect that to be completed.
John, one thing for clarity, this isn't the final phase of the subdivision or neighborhood, this is the project, this is the final for 3A, correct?
This is just for 3A. Jessica tells me that after this, there are approximately 90 lots remaining in 5 more phases.
And this project was originally a county-approved project, now annexed into town?
Project was approved for zoning approval in the county and annexed by the town after it was under construction.
Great, thanks.
Now, I can address the information that I have on the amenity area, or we can turn it over to Mr. Parr, however you want to.
However he would like to proceed, I guess he could have you present it, or he could present it. It's, I guess, left up to him.
Let me tell you what I know, and if you got any questions, you can ask David.
Perfect.
We have received a set of civil drawings for the amenity area. And I received the following email from the developer last Friday. Please find attached the which I'm gonna put this in the, I'm gonna give you this. Please find the attached preliminary site, building, and landscaping plans for Bar Lake amenity area. We are still working on what we can do, if anything, along the water's edge, given the recent problems with encroachment into the buffer area. The planned schedule is to start construction in January 2022, with completion by May or June 2022. It's a clubhouse with a playground and a swimming pool. And
Could you open it up, at least so the public could, I guess, see almost sketch plan that was submitted last week? I know that you said there was a lot of questions received, so I just want to make sure the public can see it. You know, we're not necessarily the governing body for amenities or anything like that, but we're here just to approve the final phase for 3A. But are there any questions? Is there any?
Clubhouse, playground, swimming pool, cabana, parking lot for it, area marked as a play area.
And they basically have a final phase to get these amenities done, correct?
They have approximately 90 more lots to build on in 5 more phases.
So, and they have until.
But he stated he's gonna start January and be finished by May.
I asked the question as to why wait until January. He said he was trying to time it for next summer.
This is what the developer had promised the homeowners.
I can't be can't comment on what the developer promised.
Yeah, okay.
Any public comments?
Yeah. My name's Todd Carnes. I'm at 310 Clambank Lane. I live in Bar Lake, and I just for clarification, like John, you said that it was stated, the timeline was stated, and I'm not sure of this commission's jurisdiction or regulatory authority over timelines. Can somebody bring clarity to that?
To my knowledge, we don't have any jurisdiction over amenities at all, so we can't regulate a timeline at all on an amenity. We can't, or the size of the amenity, or anything along those lines. I know that, to my knowledge, this was brought back to us from a prior phase from the dam issues. We just want to know when the dam was completed and get an update from that. I think DHEC just signed off on the dam a couple months ago, and that's why it kind of brought to us now with that. And there was some concerns about the amenities. So I think the town reached out to a developer, or the developer provided to the town to be able to share it in a public forum, I guess.
Information only.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I add something to that?
Absolutely.
Normally, these site plans wouldn't come back to council at this level, or to planning commission at this level. And the reason we're here today is because you guys asked for it to come back to kind of monitor the situation on the amenities, because you know there's concerns over the amenities. If you chose to, you could request that those future phases come to you if the amenities weren't complete. So at the very least, you could get an update on the status of them in the future. You know, if you wanted to set a date or whatever to say, hey, if it's not done by June, then, you know, the next ones need to come to us so we can approve them, just so that you can get an update.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, because I think you're correct in everything you said. I'm not in any way trying to contradict what you said. I'm just saying if you wanted to monitor the situation, you could choose.
Yeah, I think historically how we've monitored situations has to be brought back before the next phase is permitted or approved. And I think that's where we would continue versus saying an exact date or a month. Now, I understand the situation that the developer has promised that, but as far as what our historical reference would be next phase, I'm sure as they want money to continue the project, they're going to have to come back to us for the next phase.
Okay, so it's my understanding that the desire of the planning commission is to continue to bring these phases to you outside of the norm until those are built.
That's my understanding. I don't want to speak for the rest of the commission, but that's my understanding, yes.
Okay, well, we will take that direction then.
Absolutely. Any other questions? A motion?
I move to approve phase 3A.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you. Chairman?
All right. Last item. Rather lengthy meeting this morning. A lot of good input and information. Last item is annexation of Lexington County Tax Map 43000709, located at 109 Rose Lake Road. John?
We'll blame the length of the meeting on the length of the agenda, not on the chairman.
Newly elected.
Got out in 10 minutes, but you know.
Doug and Janice Hall own 4.6 acres located at 109 Rose Lake Road and have petitioned to annex the property. A single-family home is located on the site. Properties in town near this one are zoned protected residential 2. Old Chapin Road is classified as a collector road, and Rose Lake Road, which is private, is not currently classified. Due to surrounding conditions and the use of the property, the recommended zoning is protected residential. The recommended classification of Old Chapin Road is a collector, and the recommended classification of Rose Lake Road is an RL2.
For those of you all for reference, this is the Rose Lake Subdivision, if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken, the first one. So that's good. Very nice subdivision too. Be nice to have it in town.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Second, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Anything from the town you'd like to add?
No, sir, just Councilman
Mr.
Carnes.
Carnes, Councilman Carnes, anything you'd like to update, anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm good, thank you. Oh, announcements. Do you have some announcements? All right, where am I? I'm looking up there. All right. Let's see, we have, join us this Saturday for the Love of Hops Craft Beer Festival at 6 p.m. Tickets are $40 in advance, $45 at the gate. Missed that last year. Glad to have it back this year. It'll be a great time. Our free Lexington Live concert series starts Thursday, September 9th at 6:30 p.m. with the Root Doctors. Concerts will be each Thursday through October 7th. And you can find information on which bands and food vendors will be featured each week on our Facebook page, so check that out. And a final reminder that the market at the Ice House Amphitheater is on Saturdays from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. and will run through the end of September at our brand new pavilion, which you need to check out if you haven't already.
I would say that my family goes every Saturday. It's fantastic. So
Absolutely.
for the community, you haven't checked it out, please check it out.
John, you got anything else?
Isn't that enough? No, sir.
I know you got something
I
on
do,
training.
yes, I have training on August the 27th with me at 2 up on the 3rd floor, if you have not.
Got till December, correct?
Yes. I have 2 more after this in November and December.
All right. I guess we'll call it quits. Thank you for watching the Town of Lexington Planning Commission in action. This meeting was held at Town Hall, 8 a.m. Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. A recording of this meeting will be aired several times during the week on the town's information channel, 1301, and can be viewed online on the town's website. On behalf of the Town of Lexington Planning Commission and staff, I wish you a good day.